Welcome to Let's Talk About Pools today. And today's sponsor, today's podcast episode is Skimmer. So please listen in to Skimmer, try them out. Awesome route management software and so much more. And thank you for sponsoring today's episode, Skimmer, on the 2021 Texas winter, talking with Chris Bowen of Bowen Pools. So enjoy.
This is Skimmer, software for the modern pool professional. What can you do with Skimmer? See all your customers on a map, build service routes quickly, and let Skimmer optimize them for you. Access customer information, including contact details and full service history, anytime and anywhere. Customize work orders to track jobs like repairs and filter cleanings. Email your customers when you complete a service. You can include service details and on-site photos. Does your customer need a part? Add it to the shopping list and track it from purchase to installation. Skimmer will even remind you what parts you need for the day, and you can mark them as installed right when you're finished. Skimmer doesn't just store your service history, it helps you get paid. We integrate with QuickBooks Online for fast, easy invoicing. And we've got more billing options coming soon. All that's just the beginning. Go to getskimmer.com to watch our demo video, check out our online tutorials, and see if Skimmer is right for you.
Hey, everybody, and welcome today to Let's Talk About Pools. And today's episode podcast guest is Chris Bowen, owner of Bowen Pools. Welcome today, Chris. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your company.
Thanks, Lauren. We're happy to be here. So I'm the owner of Bowen Pools. We are based in Flower Mound, Texas. We do service, we do repairs, we do renovations, we build pools. Pretty much you name it, we're doing it here in Dallas-Fort Worth area. So
how long have you been in the business, Chris?
So I've been in the business since 2006. So I took a little break in between, but you know what they say about the pool industry, you can't ever leave, so
yep.
It always brings you back.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Even if you try to leave, it always brings you back, right?
Exactly.
So today's episode, we're going to be talking about the 2021 winter and how it affected our Texas pools. And who better to talk about that than a pool contractor in Texas who's in boots on the ground, actually sees what's going on. So we're going to be talking about that today.
Oh, yeah. Good times.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure it has been in some ways. So how did the 2021 Texas winter that just happened recently affect your pools, your pool equipment?
Yeah, so we didn't have any pools that were under construction that were affected at all, luckily. So we were able to get everything depressurized in time on that end. We've seen a lot of damage from homeowners, though. A lot of damage, full equipment sets, heaters, pumps, filters that cracked. I've seen a ton of pumps that have just cracked in half. So not even like small cracks, just cracked in half on the housing, just completely broken. Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of heaters, pretty much if any pool had any sort of damage and it had a heater on it, the heater shot, header's broken on it. So yeah, it's been an interesting last few weeks. And so I'm out doing bids. And so I'm actually hanging out in front of a client's house right now. So getting ready to go do some more bids.
So busy trying to fit in being a guest on my podcast, but you're literally boots on the ground, that you're in your car doing this podcast interview with me so that then you can get back to your customers there in Texas to try to get their pools back to normal, right?
Absolutely. We're hoping it's only another week or two of estimates, and then hopefully we've caught up a little bit. So we've been doing about 10 estimates a day probably for the last few weeks. So we've been busting them out.
Whew. So how cold did it get there?
It was pretty cold. I think a few days it got around 0, but it was less than the 20s for the bulk of it. So for Texas, it's cold.
Yeah.
We're just not prepared for that kind of weather. I grew up in Colorado, and it's world of difference in Colorado versus here as far as preparedness when it comes to cold weather. And so I think that's a big part of it, is Texas just isn't built for that.
And you guys had snow too, didn't you? How far did the snow go in Texas?
We only got a couple inches. It wasn't really that bad. It was maybe 3 inches of snow, but people here just don't know what to do with snow.
San Antonio
Oh,
and Austin and that whole area, even south of them, got some snow too, right?
oh yeah, it was pretty much the whole state of Texas. So that was the bigger deal. Is that Texas is a massive state, and this I think was the first winter storm that covered the entire state at the same time.
Yeah, I heard the snow
So
went as far south as to the Mexican Texas border.
yeah, oh yeah, it was a little crazy.
Yeah, I saw pictures from, we have family in the Austin, San Antonio area, and they
Okay.
had pictures of their backyards with snow. And everybody on the podcast knows I'm from Florida, where we don't see
It
snow
doesn't
down
snow.
here. No,
Exactly.
I think the northern part of our county had people made little tiny snowmen with like a little flurries that came down, and it lasted like 2 minutes, I think.
Oh yeah, we had people trying to make snowmen, but it wasn't quite enough to really get a good snowman going.
Could have done some snow angels though.
Yeah, absolutely. It really wouldn't have been that bad if it wasn't for the power outages. The power outages are what got us. So, if it hadn't been for that, I think most people's equipment would have kept up and we wouldn't have seen nearly as much damage. But the rolling blackouts and just the blackouts in general are what did the bulk of the damage.
That was a good addition to people that didn't really know what was causing a lot of the damage for the pools.
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily the cold weather. I mean, it was, but it was the fact that we had blackouts happening at 2 a.m. and people woke up Monday morning to their pool equipment already frozen. They went to bed and had power and woke up and didn't.
Yep. What's your workload been like? I know you mentioned like 10 estimates a day. What do you have a backlog and how far out your work is for?
Yeah, we do. So we're probably about 3 to 4 weeks out right now. So if you say go, yes, we're ready. We're probably 3 to 4 weeks out, which is probably better. Just because with the equipment shortages, it gives us time to place those orders and have stuff kind of rolling in as we're getting to the jobs. So we stocked up and we had a pretty decent stock to begin with of pool equipment. But that Monday, right after the storm subsided, we went and we loaded up on some equipment. So we have enough equipment to get to those jobs for the next 4 weeks. And then after that, we're just putting things on tickets and kind of receiving it as it comes in.
All right. And you're talking about shortages. That was going to be my next question. Are there any shortages in Texas due to the winter storm? What type of things are you seeing a shortage on?
Everything. It's shortage on everything, just about. So big one would be pumps, filters, heaters. There's really no valves in the whole state of Texas. So what you have is what you have. We're lucky we do business with 3 or 4 different distributors in the area. So we kind of went around to each one and got what we could. But yeah, we're really seeing a backlog in pumps and filters and heaters.
Is there any hoarding going on with pool equipment?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure you've seen them pool groups. Now people are trying to sell it too,
Oh, golly.
Make some profit on it. Yeah.
So you said hardest, what were the hardest items to get again? You said it was the pumps and the heaters and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think heaters are probably the hardest right now just because there's so many heaters that are down. Valves as well. So, pumps and filters, we had, quite a few pumps and filters break, but the manifolds, the suction type manifold, return manifolds, those are what really busted. That PVC. At least with the filters, it's a little bit more insulated than those pipes, I guess. But we saw a lot of pipes bust. So a lot of Jandy valves, a lot of check valves, things like that. And so that's where I think the real shortage is going to hurt a lot of people is, we may have pumps and we may be able to get a pump in. Well, if we don't have valves, how are you going to plumb it?
Yep.
So.
And are we seeing this is an extreme cost to your customers? All the damage that you've seen, is it costing them a lot of money? It's financially hurting, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we did to try to help that was we worked with a local bank, trying to help them to get loans to help pay for that. because we've seen equipment pads that are, a couple $100 all the way up to $15,000 in damage, replacing entire equipment pads,
Wow.
multiple pumps, multiple filters. That adds up.
Yeah.
You got a heater on your pool, that's $3,500, $4,000. Got several variable speed pumps, those are $1,500 a piece. It adds up pretty fast. So we've had some
Chlorine generator cracked through.
yeah, exactly. So it all adds up pretty fast. We're still waiting to see what insurance is going to cover versus what it's not. I think we've got a lot of those full equipment set bids that are out there that as soon as the insurance money starts rolling in, they'll get approved. So we probably have a couple weeks before that happens, but as soon as those people start getting those checks, I expect a lot of the full pads to start getting replaced.
Didn't even think about the insurance end of it. It's kind of like a hurricane coming through Florida.
Yeah.
We go for our homeowners insurance to repair whatever. Wow.
Yeah, and so some insurances are covering it, some aren't. It really kind of depends on what the fine writing says about how it was handled. Some insurance companies aren't covering it because it's an act of God. Some are saying that they're not covering it because the equipment wasn't properly maintained, saying because they didn't winterize it, that they're not going to cover it.
Oh my gosh, but they're in Texas. Like you said, they don't really.
Well, exactly. Yeah, we don't winterize pools in Texas. They run year round. And not only that, we lost power in the middle of the night. How would they have known that we were going to lose power at 2 a.m.?
Right, when it's the coldest temperatures that you'd have.
Yeah, exactly. It's not expected. They didn't start talking about rolling outages until probably Saturday or Sunday. So we knew the cold was coming, but we didn't know that those outages were coming.
Right. And the combination of both at the same time is kind of what did it to all the pool equipment. Because now you had nothing running through the system or anything. Well, what about, I know we talked about the equipment side. What about since these pools were off and not being treated, are you dealing with a lot of green pools and green to cleans and stuff like that?
Not as much yet. We've seen some green pools, but we're only a couple weeks in, and those water temperatures are still pretty cold, so those pools haven't warmed up just yet. But yeah, that's the expectation, is we're going to have a lot of green pools when this is all said and done. And, we're expecting a windfall of green to cleans and draining cleans.
Yep. So there's a lot more work coming that you haven't even seen yet.
Exactly. I mean, we've got homeowners telling us they've contacted other companies that can't even get out to look at their equipment for 6 weeks.
Whew. Wow.
Not even to do the repair work, but they can't even see it for 6 weeks.
Right.
So, I think in that time frame before that gets done, it's absolutely going to be green. There's no way you go through a March in Texas and April in Texas and you don't have a green pool if it's not running.
Right. It's amazing how COVID and then even this in Texas has just shown the shortage of good people in this industry that we're lacking, that when something goes through, there's such a long list waiting, to get something repaired. I know it's happening. I know it's happening in all the trades. Plumbers are way out there. They said they're months and months out for repairing stuff. So it's interesting that kind of brings that to the forefront for me, just listening to you talk about the long time that these people are being told to wait. Tells me there's just not a lot. You guys are essential workers, been working so hard the whole year, and it sounds great.
We haven't stopped.
Yeah, you haven't stopped. You hadn't had a break. It's wonderful for the industry, but yet it's tiring because it's like constant work coming in and you don't even get a break. It's like, when am I going to take a vacation? Right.
Exactly. So I was actually supposed to be on vacation next week in Colorado. And so I've ended up having to cancel that to try to keep up with some of the workload and to try to help out and, make sure I'm there to help the guys and, help any way that I can too. So, cause we're lucky we've got a great team who handles the bulk of it. But everybody's busting their butt right now, trying to get everything done. We're all working 50, 60-hour weeks right now.
Yep.
So.
All right. Any other items that you'd like to bring up about the Texas winter that happened this year to the pool industry in Texas?
Just that we all just need to work together on this. You know, I think that's the biggest thing is help out where we can, you know. Um, I think one of the things that helped us most is that we were really available to help walk clients through what needed to be done during the storm, um, and just trying to help our neighbors out as much as we can. You know,
Yep.
I was answering texts and emails and Facebook messages at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, trying to help some of these people winterize their equipment in the middle of the night because they lost power. And, you know, their pool had been running for 2, 3 days, but they knew that those outages were coming and they were getting longer and longer and longer. I just think that we saw a lot of people be really good neighbors, you know, in all this. And I think it brought us closer as a community. So, but I think pool people now need to help each other, you know, and if we've got parts, help others to go install them and things like that. You know, don't be afraid to call another pool company if you can't get a hold of parts and say, hey, can you guys come do these repairs for me? Because I don't have access to it. I know you guys do. Can you help me out?
Yeah. Pick up the phone and talk and communicate and just help each other like the old days, kind of like what we used to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, that hits home, helping each other and helping each other out. What would be your last comments to the contractors down in Texas, and also for contractors in other states when something like this happens? You said help each other out and that kind of thing. Anything else you'd like to add that would help them out in a situation like this?
Yeah, just be ethical. You know, I mean, I've seen people comment that they've got people quoting pumps for $3,000. Come on, that's crazy. You know, let's be ethical. They haven't raised prices that much. You know, they've raised them a little, but not that much. So let's just all be ethical. We can all make some money here. We can all help our businesses grow, but just do it ethically.
Ethical, help each other out, call each other, help each other with work to get it done. That sounds awesome. It's nice to hear that something really bad happens, but then maybe some good things can come out of what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do think that a lot of good will come from this. I think that a lot of people who, you know, maybe were putting off those repairs that really needed it, they're about to have them done. You know, and I think that'll help people in the long run too, especially on the service side. You know, some of these pools are going to run much better now.
Yeah. And
So
it's great.
maybe not what the homeowner wanted, but
yeah. And I mean, it hit home to me when you just said like a few minutes ago how you were on your phone, Facebook messaging with customers that knew that the power was out and it was the middle of the night when you should be sleeping, because I'm sure you're working long days since you said 50, 60-hour weeks. So you're on the phone trying. So those customers that were proactive with talking with you on winterizing, did they save their pool equipment?
Yeah, I've probably gotten 50 messages thanking me for all the help that we did, because I was on local Facebook pages and stuff like that, putting up tutorials on how to winterize your equipment. I probably had 50, 60 messages, you know, thanking me, saying that I saved their pool equipment. So that always feels good.
That's so rewarding. You deserve it.
Yeah.
And any of the other pool companies in Texas with you that have been doing
there's a lot out there doing it.
Yes.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
All of you that were helping your customers like that, thank you very much for what you guys do. And we're here, and hopefully other companies listening to this podcast can somehow help the companies in Texas reach out to them and see if what they need. Maybe we can get stuff to you guys in some way. So hopefully my podcast episode, which will be, heard by various groups of people, maybe somebody out there will go, oh, I have this stuff. I can send it over there if they've got a shortage. So that's one of my hopes, is that it can hopefully get it out there, what happened and how hard you guys are working, how good you guys are, and that you guys really need that help right now.
Yep, definitely.
Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast episode today, Chris.
Yeah, thank you for having me. We really appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully we can get back to rebuilding in Texas.
Yes.